Have you ever noticed something strange about the middle class? They work hard, they go to school, they follow the rules. They wake up early, go to work, come home exhausted, and repeat the same routine for years. And yet, many of them never become truly wealthy. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack intelligence, not because they don't work hard, but because they are trapped in a system they don't fully understand. This is the middle class trap, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start with a simple idea most people grow up believing. Work hard, get a good education, find a stable job, and everything will work out. For decades, this advice worked reasonably well, but the world has changed. Today, working hard alone is no longer enough to build wealth. Many middle-class families earn decent salaries. Some even earn more money than their parents ever did, but despite higher incomes, their financial stress hasn't disappeared. Why? Because income alone does not create wealth. In fact, income can sometimes hide the problem. Let me explain. Imagine two people. Person number 1 earns $40,000 a year. Person number 2 earns $120,000 a year. At first glance, you would assume the second person is doing far better financially, but that's not always true because wealth isn't determined by income. It's determined by what you keep and what you build. If the person earning $120,000 spends $118,000 every year, they are no closer to financial freedom than the person earning $40,000. This is the first trap the middle class falls into: lifestyle inflation. As income increases, spending increases. A small apartment becomes a larger one. A used car becomes a brand new one. Vacations become more expensive. Subscriptions multiply. None of these things are necessarily bad, but they quietly increase your monthly obligations. And once those obligations grow large enough, something dangerous happens. You lose flexibility. You can't easily quit your job. You can't take risks. You can't start a business. Your lifestyle becomes dependent on your paycheck. This is often called golden handcuffs. They feel comfortable, but they are still handcuffs. Now let's talk about another hidden trap: the difference between assets and liabilities. Most people are never taught this distinction. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Simple, but many middle-class families unknowingly fill their lives with liabilities while believing they are building wealth. Take cars as an example. Cars are useful. They help us travel to work, see family, and live our lives. But financially, a car is usually a depreciating asset. It loses value every year while still costing money to maintain. Insurance, fuel, repairs. Now imagine someone buys an expensive car to match their higher salary. The monthly payment might be manageable, but that payment continues for years. Instead of investing that money, it disappears into something losing value. This pattern repeats with many purchases: bigger homes, expensive gadgets, luxury items. Each one adds comfort, but each one also adds cost. Over time, these costs absorb nearly all available income. That's why someone earning $80,000 can feel just as financially stressed as someone earning $40,000. The system quietly expands to consume whatever income you have. Now here's another major reason the middle class struggles to build wealth. They rely almost entirely on earned income. Earned income means money you receive in exchange for your time. You work, you get paid, but there's a limitation to this model. Your time is finite. There are only 24 hours in a day. And even if you work extremely hard, your income has a ceiling. True wealth is usually built differently. Wealthy individuals focus heavily on ownership. Ownership of businesses, ownership of investments, ownership of assets that produce income. When you own assets, something powerful happens. Money begins working for you. For example, when someone owns stocks in a company, they benefit from the company's growth. When someone owns rental property, they receive income from tenants. When someone owns a business, their profits can grow even when they are not physically working every hour. This doesn't happen overnight, but over time, assets can produce income without requiring constant labor. That is the difference between working for money and having money work for you. The middle class often struggles with this shift because the education system rarely teaches it. Schools teach many valuable subjects: history, science, literature, mathematics, but financial education is often missing. Students graduate understanding algebra but not compound interest. They learn about ancient empires but not investment strategies. Many people enter adulthood without a clear financial plan. They simply follow the path they were told to follow. Study hard, find a job, work for decades, retire someday. But the math of that path is becoming increasingly difficult. Housing costs rise, education costs rise, healthcare costs rise. Meanwhile, wages often grow slowly. Without investing and asset building, keeping up becomes harder every year. Now, let's talk about time. Time is the most powerful factor in wealth building because of something called compound growth. Compound growth means earning returns on your returns. Imagine investing money that grows by 7% each year. In the early years, growth seems small, but over time, those returns start generating their own returns. Growth begins accelerating. This is why people who start investing early often end up far ahead of those who start later. Not because they invested more, but because they invested longer. The middle class often delays investing because life feels expensive. Student loans, rent or mortgage, family expenses. By the time many people feel financially stable enough to invest seriously, years of compounding opportunity have already passed. But here's the important part: it's never too late to change direction. Even small investments made consistently can grow significantly over time. The key is consistency, not perfection. Another factor that keeps the middle class from building wealth is fear of risk. Many people are comfortable with the risks they understand, like relying on a paycheck. But they fear the risks they don't understand, like investing. Ironically, avoiding investment risk can sometimes create a bigger long-term risk. Inflation slowly reduces the value of money. If savings sit idle for decades, their purchasing power declines. Investing carries risk, yes. But historically, diversified investments over long periods have grown significantly. The goal isn't gambling. The goal is participation in economic growth. Now let's talk about something rarely discussed: financial awareness. Many people never track their financial position. They don't know their net worth. They don't know exactly where their money goes each month. Without awareness, improvement becomes difficult. Imagine trying to lose weight without ever stepping on a scale, or trying to drive somewhere without checking a map. Financial progress requires clarity, understanding your income, your expenses, your debts, your investments. Once you see the full picture, you can start making intentional decisions, and those decisions compound over time. But here's the most important point of all: the middle class is not doomed to stay stuck. Many people escape the trap, not through luck, but through small, consistent changes. They reduce unnecessary expenses. They avoid lifestyle inflation. They invest regularly. They focus on building assets. They increase their skills and income over time. And slowly, their financial position shifts. At first, progress feels slow, but eventually something powerful happens. Investment income begins growing. Opportunities increase. Financial stress decreases. This is the transition from working for survival to building freedom, and it doesn't require becoming a billionaire. Financial freedom simply means having enough assets that your life choices are no longer controlled by a paycheck. You can change careers, start projects, take breaks, spend time with family, because your income is no longer dependent on a single source. So the real question isn't whether the middle class can build wealth. They absolutely can. The real question is whether someone is willing to see the system clearly and make different decisions over time. Because wealth rarely comes from one dramatic moment. It comes from thousands of small choices repeated for years. Spend slightly less, invest slightly more, learn continuously. Avoid unnecessary debt, protect your time, and most importantly, start earlier than you think you need to. Because the greatest financial advantage in the world isn't intelligence. It isn't luck. It isn't even income. It's time. And the sooner you start using it wisely, the sooner the middle class trap begins to disappear.